Guys, if you're in a rut, like you can't get into anything in terms of like extracurricular stuff, you can't get into training, you can't get into, I don't know, doing some side hustling. Not that I'm saying you need to do a side hustle and get on your grind set, absolutely not. But if you are basically caught in the work, sort of taking all your energy and motivation, that kind of thing cycle, the best way out of it, I mean, for me, I've been training and playing sport and stuff my whole life, so I have a pretty solid base. Been doing a lot of weights, and yeah, I've just trained my whole life, so I'm not starting from ground zero. But even if you are not the same thing applies, I believe, and that's if you're in that thing where you can't get yourself out of it, and maybe you find yourself drinking more or just relying on food or cigarettes or whatever to make you feel good again, and you're just caught in that foggy haze each day after work. I think the best thing you can do, apart from all the things that I will say continuously, which is to slow down, give yourself some space, transmute your energy, your vital force, also save your vital force, as in don't be losing it to orgasming as often as most people are, at the very least. Slowing down, breathing, transmutation, meditation, apart from those things, to give yourself enough rest and go to bed on time, is to do some intense like hill sprints or something like that. And because the thing is, when you're like, oh, I've got to commit to some sort of weights program or something like that, maybe that's exciting to you, that's cool. But if you kind of like, what you really need is a shock to the system. Like you need to do something that's gonna just be like, oh Jesus, like, oh, fuck, that was crazy, like, and just sort of snaps you out of it. And as someone who's like, trained a lot of weights and been various forms of exercise and sport and that kind of thing, the thing that you need is something very, very intense. And for me, that was hill sprints. Like I've tried running earlier in the week, but you're in your head, you're like, oh, it's not going to do much. Like, it takes so long to like lose fat, or like, you're not feeling good about how you look and you don't feel that great. Just get in there and jolt the system. And that's intensity. That's like, do something intense, short and sharp. So I was like, I'm living next to a pretty steep hill, and I did six efforts of these 30-second sprints up the hill and then walk back down and do it again. By the end, I was nearly vomiting, and because it had been so long, and all the habits that I've had in the past month and a half, of including smoking and drinking and other such things, eating things, nothing too crazy, but you get the gist. You sort of, and sitting down all day at work, those kinds of things. And the reason that I think this works is because you, like, if you just go for a run or if you just do a weight session, it's good, and you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, but it's kind of like, compared to the other things you're doing, compared to the grind of work, it's like on the same sort of level. So if you do something that's like actually gets you into a challenging space very quickly, so it doesn't overburden you with like, oh, this is like an hour of training, it's like I literally can just sprint a few times and I'm done. So that kind of thing, but it's also maximal effort, and that gets your heart rate up, and you're like, you're doing those ones. When I came back, I literally just like conked out on the floor of the kitchen, just like lay down and was like trying not to vomit, and it was just so good. And so now that sort of like pushes up your threshold to way higher, so you're like, oh well, I could go for a little jog. Like, it doesn't become this big thing. You sort of need to bump up your relative suffering. Like, you could call it as like suffering, but it's, if you get used to not really pushing yourself, it becomes harder and harder to do things like go to the gym and that kind of thing. You do need to ease into it, but to sort of reset and just like, restart the system, just sort of jolt the system and get yourself back on track. Something like that, short, sharp, intense, is the way to go. Because it just transforms you. I don't know if it's like the oxygenation of your body or like what it is, but you're just breathing in so much more oxygen, like clears your chest, you know, your sinuses, you're like, whew, and then you're feeling good. You're like, oh geez, what was I doing? Like, you're more conscious of how you're eating, as in you're not just like, oh, well, who gives a crap? You sort of get yourself out of it. It's like jump starting your I think it's really jump starting your metabolism is another big part of it. Gets things going. So I think if you're struggling with that, if you just did that like a couple of times a week, that's something that's going to give you some momentum. And at the stage like where I'm at, or if you're here as well, I'm sure it's hard. It's not like you just get out of it for good. You still have to be consistent. But if you find yourself in those situations when you're lacking a bit of motivation, just something short and sharp that's going to jumpstart your metabolism, jumpstart your sort of, get your juices flowing and kick you out a bit, and then you'll have a better night's sleep as well. Like, you won't be so restless and stuff, because it's like there's a load on your nervous system. And then you're good to go, and that gives you a new sort of baseline, or it means, oh, I've gone through this amount of suffering, and so everything that's less suffering is kind of not a big deal. That's kind of what you need to do, recalibrate yourself. That's the best way to do it, and make sure you just get a good night's sleep and crack on. And then I would suggest, if you just have a bit of momentum with that, like if you're going from no training and you're like, I just have no motivation, do that like a couple of times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, or you could do like two of those kinds of efforts, and then one sort of run 4 or 5 Ks at a cruisy pace, where you conversational pace, and you don't need to do anything else around that. And just know that like diet is how you lose fat predominantly. So, and weights training can help that. There's a million ways to do it, but I just think keeping things simple as possible is the way to go. And easier for me to say, given that I'm not trying to put on much more size, because every time I do that, I feel I have to eat so much food, and it's just like expensive, and I don't know, I just don't like being that heavy. I want to feel a bit lighter, so I do already have muscle mass. So if you're looking to bulk up a bit, which is like definitely something I think is important for guys, just to sort of have some stature, then yeah, maybe you're getting into the gym, but like maybe you have different motivations as well. But all of that aside, if you feel how I describe, which is like you're in that work grind, maybe you're finishing late, you just don't have the energy, you don't have the capacity, you need something that's short and sharp, and so you basically need to do something very short, and that's going to give maximal sort of impact. And I just don't think there's anything better than like a hill sprint or stair runs if you've got a long stair, but we're talking like 30 seconds. You sort of need to push past the initial 15 seconds. Or if you're maybe you live near an oval or like a running track, doing kind of like 30-second sprints around there. Doesn't even have to be uphill, but just sort of pushing the threshold, 30 seconds to a minute. Do a couple, 3 to 6 reps of that. Give yourself sort of like 3-to-1 ratio rest, or just till you feel like you've mostly recovered, and get out, like do it again. That's what you need, and you can just maintain that. Like, that's most bang for your buck. If you're doing that week to week, and that's all you can muster, like, you're staying fit, and you're keeping yourself in that mindset of like your threshold's high, your tolerance to challenge is higher, and it's just a good place to be. So I'm saying, if you're stuck, commit to 3 times a week. Like, give yourself time to recover. Don't push it too hard. Go easy on yourself, because the priority is to rest, be still, get yourself out of this feeling of like, I need to do stuff. This isn't, the reason you do this isn't because you need to have be ripped and jacked, although it will help you in that endeavor. But the purpose of this is to jumpstart your metabolism, jumpstart your motivation, just sort of like put you in this intense way into the fire, and get yourself going again. And you don't need to have done any previous training to do that. And do that a couple of times a week, and that'll get you going, and things will seem a little bit easier. you'll keep a bit more focused, and and then you can just focus on chilling out, going to bed at a reasonable hour. You can still have a few beers and darts if you want, but even that will be like, no, I don't really want it, because you'll feel the effects. So actually that's the thing I want to finish on here, is that when you are not training, like I remember a few years ago, all this stuff about gluten and different intolerances, and it's still around, but it's like, it seems to be people are less serious about it now. It's kind of normalized and all that kind of stuff, but it was so obsessive over it. And I was playing a lot of sport at the time, and had been throughout my life, so I could feel the influence subtly. And I'd also done training, like holistic lifestyle coaching training as well, so I was aware of these kinds of things and the impact on their body. And a lot of people are like, oh, who cares, it's like oblivious to it. And I think it's because when you reach a level of sort of like fitness, health, what's required to do that is like exercising, consistency and stuff, and that it pulls you out of that sort of rut, like I'm saying, and because you're performing, whether it's just going to the gym or going for a run, you're continually performing, so you're checking how you're doing, and you'll be like, oh shit, I didn't get enough sleep, that's affected me, or I had 3 beers last night, that's affected me, or actually I'm feeling a little bit bloated, those kinds of things. When you just stay permanently in the kind of no exercise, work, hang out, eat bubble, and even if you're not overweight or whatever, but you kind of, your body's not as finely, you're not as tuned into your body, and things don't affect you as much. So, and I'm not saying that's even necessarily a bad thing, but ultimately I think to have good health, you kind of, I don't know, actually I think it's just play it how it works for you. Don't overthink those things. I think that's a trap as well. And not everyone needs to be an elite athlete. Like everyone's like running, especially in Sydney, Australia, everyone's like trying to do some sort of marathon or half marathon or some sort of, Ironman, and everyone's trying to prove themselves in that regard, and just have this thing that they always have, you have to constantly training and blah blah, and it's a sickness, I would say. I know the benefits of it, and I've been down that path as well, but I don't think it's kind of all consuming, and it's lacks a bit of substance to it. But if it's meaningful, do it. But yeah, you don't have to do that. But even if you just start training and just looking after yourself a bit more, you start to feel the difference that some of these not eating quite right affects you. But yeah, I don't think you need to go too crazy with it. But if if you're having gut issues and all that kind of stuff, then address that and look into it and explore the different ways people have out there to heal those things. I think it's important to try things yourself and do that, and you'll kind of learn what works for you. And something you might do for a period might heal you to some degree, and then you try something else and there's some other issue, and you just try these different things and you sort of get back to where you need to be. I don't think it's like a one thing will fix it all kind of thing. Maybe it is, but I just, you don't want to be booking in for doctor's appointments and specialist appointments, and I don't know, I feel like half the people don't know what they're talking about. So just try things, see how it goes, and you'll figure it out yourself. The biggest thing is not stressing yourself out too much, which goes back to the main point I always say, which is stop doing shit. Like, just chill out. You're doing enough, and you need to be quiet. You need to be still in order to connect to your being. So that's most important. So it's a bit of everything in this one, a bit of a sort of wellness and exercise and getting out of a funk type discussion. But the main thing is, as always, slow it down. Don't beat yourself up. You don't need to do some hectic training routine. A couple of times a week is enough if you can muster it. And if you can't muster it, the best way to jumpstart that is firstly be making sure you're getting enough rest as you can. But at some point, I think you jumpstart it with something like a sprints, like hill sprints, 3 to 6, whatever you can get out the door and go, all right, fine, I'm going to do this. This will be over soon. It feels good to get the body moving as well. Like, it feels, you're like being in the gyms, like you're doing these movements. Yeah, you can do compound movements. Not everything needs to be isolated, but it's boring. It's like, there's something like primal about just sprinting, and you just hits everything in your body. It's unreal. So I'm saying get out there, go for some sprints, hill sprints, and yeah, shake things up a little bit. That'll give you a bit of momentum, and give yourself some rest. Give it a couple of days, do it again, and just keep doing that. And then decide from there. Maybe you want to get in the gym. Maybe you want to just keep it as it is. You know, no pressure. Whatever feels right for you. There's no need to do this. Maybe there's no need to do anything you don't want to do. Just what's important to you. For me, as I said, I know what I want to do. I like working out. I like training. I like how I feel. But I don't want it to be because it's like, oh, I'm getting fat or whatever, you know? Yes, that's going to have an influence if you're not happy with your body image, but you got to be really clued into the underlying motivation. Same for doing anything. It's because you're interested in it. And it's exciting to you, not because you feel like you're not enough if you don't do that thing. Like if you don't have a certain amount of money so you take a job and then you don't feel like you're going to be enough, and then that sets up this whole thing and you're going to be unhappy. Or if you're only going to the gym because you want to pull chicks. Like, yeah, it's a side benefit, but that's lame as well. And there's, it's just not worth it. You are enough. You already are enough. There's nothing you need to do. You're here just to explore things that are interesting to you. So you don't need to stay with that job. You can try something completely different, even if you risk your security a little bit. Who gives a fuck? Like, literally, you don't take anything with you, any material things with you. So you have these mad experiences and you gain that wisdom and you take that with you into the afterlife or whatever comes next, but you don't take your material possessions into the afterlife or whatever comes next. And so all that security was for fucking nothing. You're just, well, it's not for nothing, you can have family, all these kinds of things, but you know what I mean? Don't do things because of you feel like you have to. Do them because you want to. And to get into a bit of motivation, fucking go for some hill sprints. That'll sort you out. Sweet.